Hey, welcome back to the Rant, everybody. Uh, I'm Sam Carus, joined alongside my co-host Daniel Arena. Last week we talked about baseball. We talked about the Red Sox and now the COVID-ridden Mets. Today we're going to talk about football. Um, you would think Dan would be a Patriot fan, being a Red Sox fan, but he is actually a New Orleans Saints fan, and I am a New York Football Giants fan. So I'm going to throw the floor to Danny and
Let
see what he's
me
thinking.
let me first explain the background of my fandom and the connections to the New Orleans Saints.
Absolutely.
Um, my dad is from Kennebunkport, Maine, in New England. So he grew up all Boston, Patriots, Bruins, Red Sox, Celtics. Um, and naturally, he passed that down to me and my brother, CJ. Um,
Okay.
I was able to definitely connect with the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Bruins, no problem. And I just never really got the feeling with the Patriots. I don't know why. Then the whole cheating thing came up, and so on and so forth. And I just said, you know what? I'm not feeling it. So I got to pick another team. The Saints had always been my favorite NFC team just because I like the colors. I love Drew Brees. And probably over the past 5 years now, I've just been all Saints, watching all the games, studying, it, just getting into it. It's not easy. Comes with a lot of heartbreak, unfortunately, but we'll get into that.
But,
Um,
to some people that don't know us that well, you might think that sounds like fishy that Daniel just switching teams, but he knows everything there is to know about the Saints, so I will vouch for him. He is definitely a 100% diehard Saints fan, so I will give that to him. And it's an exciting time. NFL football is back. Training camp. I want to talk about Joe Judge first, if you don't mind.
okay.
Uh, New head coach of the New York Football Giants. I love what he's doing. He's running a tight ship. He's getting the team disciplined. He's making them run laps. He's making the coaches run laps. I love it. Unfortunately, he did get our best special teamer hurt, Cody Core. He is out for the season, but whatever. But no, all best wishes to Cody Core. But I like what he's doing so far in training camp, and I think we'll be ready for Pittsburgh Monday Night Football.
What is Judge's background? Where did he coach before?
So he coached at Bama. He was with Nick Saban,
Right.
and then he was with Belichick for a long time. He was their special teams coordinator. But even Belichick said when he came over, he's like, this guy's great football mind. He's tough, no nonsense. So I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I think definitely a different kind of coach than the last two schmucks we had, Pat
When you
Shermer and Ben McAdoo.
when you look back at the Pat Shermer and Ben McAdoo era, um, all you can say is really poor coaching combined with the inability connect with the players. I think Ben McAdoo did a horrendous job connecting with his players. I don't think he was in tune with his quarterback. I think he was horrible when it came to the media. I think Pat Shermer was the same way. And overall, when you keep losing and your coach is not confident, he's yelling at the media, it creates a losing environment. And unfortunately, I think the Giants have been trapped in that for a little while now.
100%.
So let's
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about your expectations for them this upcoming season. So
Um,
last, I think they were 3-13 last year, correct?
um, so I want to make sure. Let's.
Okay.
I want to say 4-12.
Uh-huh. And then maybe the year before 3-13.
Yeah, the year before was a horrific season, but um,
They're definitely struggling to.
yeah, as I said, 4-12. But um, no, this year I think we improve. I think we improve a little bit every year, and I think next year will be the year that they can contend for a playoff spot. I think the year after that they can actually get into the wild card, make some noise in the playoffs. I think this year they go 6-10. I think that's realistic for the Giants. I think max wins they have is 8. They have a tough schedule. They do. 6-10. I think Jones has a good year. Barkley, obviously. Yeah, I don't foresee the offense being the problem. The defense is extremely young. A lot of rookie starters. Darnay Holmes, McKinney will start. New
Secondary is young. Secondary is very young.
secondary is very young. Plus, we have DeAndre Baker, who's now no longer with us on the team. He's done. He's a whatever. He's a criminal, but you know,
Look,
um,
when you want to go into the Giants, the whole point of football is make the playoffs, right? Um, and to do that, you want to win your division. And when you look at the NFC East, you look at the Redskins. I mean, they got Ron Rivera. They think that's going to be like a culture thing. They changed the culture. I think that's garbage. I don't think Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins will
Sorry to
come.
interrupt you for a second, but
Yeah.
all praise to Ron Rivera, who was diagnosed with cancer. He's a great guy, great football mind. I've always loved him, so praise to him.
Um, but anyway, I don't think the Redskins are going to break through this year. I think they all want to, and the organization thinks that with this whole new identity change and the coaching change that they're going to start something new. But it's just not going to happen. They don't have the talent. They lose Darius Geis. Their receivers are thin. Their defense is thin. Maybe Chase Young has a big year, but I don't think it's going to be enough to even propel them to over 5 wins, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. And then you have Dallas and Philly, who Dallas is clearly, I think, the best team in the division. As much as I hate to say that, but honestly, I don't see that much of a gap between Philly and the Giants. I definitely do think their defense is better and their O line is better. Meanwhile, the Giants' O line is also extremely young. Um, but I think you're going to see a lot of improvement, even though they might not win many games. I think it's going to be better for Giant fans to watch and actually have a team that they can be proud of going into the future.
When you look at Dallas, and I'm a very very passionate Dak Prescott hater.
As am I.
I think that he's a horrendous quarterback. I think for the talent that he has around him, he has probably one of the best receiving cores in the league, arguably the best running back, and honestly, arguably the best linebackers, and the best offensive
Offensive,
line.
yeah.
Um, I think that it is an absolute disgrace that they continue to go 8-8 year after year. Jason Garrett's still there, right?
No, he's the New York
Mike
Football
McCarthy.
Giants offensive coordinator.
Mike McCarthy is now their guy, who
Yeah.
honestly, he's a horrendous coach as well. He couldn't do anything with Aaron Rodgers and a talented team in Green Bay. Um, I think that they're going to have a disappointing year just because their quarterback, in big moments, even in regular games, you look at his stats and they are decent only because he has 1 or 2 games where he'll throw for 400 yards, but he's not consistent and he can't hold that within the playoffs.
Yeah.
And when he faces good defenses, he crumbles. He's not built for the moment. He's not built for a big contract, and I just don't think he's fit to lead a team. And he doesn't deserve an extension. I think he's the most overrated player in football, and he's not built to lead a team like that who has stacked talent, honestly, and Super Bowl talent beyond the quarterback position.
This is what I have to say about Dak Prescott. He is a very, very good football player. Not a good quarterback, a decent quarterback, but a very good football player. You
How do
have
you,
to admit, what?
how do you mean?
One, his instincts are good. He can run, he's strong, and he does enough for them every single year to almost sneak into the playoffs or sneak into the playoffs. So he does enough. And honestly, I think part of it was just the horrendous coaching, horrendous play calling from Jason Garrett. But I think he's a really good football player. But I know Trey Bressage is watching. He's upset. Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be anything above mediocre.
When you look at a team like that and you just immediately go Super Bowl aspirations, Dak Prescott is not the guy for that team. He's not, and he hasn't been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I think the Giants. Now, do I think the Giants are going to make the playoffs? I don't. I don't think the Giants are a talented team. I just think they're too young. I think that the first-year coach. I just don't think they're going to get used to him. It's going to take a little while. I think the fans still, they support the team, but they're dwindling. I think their faith in the team has slowly gone down after the last couple of horrendous seasons.
I think that's the most false thing anyone's ever said.
Mhm. As a New York Giants fan, I'm sure you'll love your team and you love it no matter what. But it always comes out utter disappointment every year. And listen, as a Saints fan, and we'll get into this in a second, it's fun to be in the playoffs, competing, getting in there. But as a Giants fan, after week 7, the season's over. And it's like, why am I even watching the games anymore other than to make fun of the coach, right? That's basically what you were doing all last year and the year before. You watched the game so you could find a play and then tweet about it and say, this is why the Giants stink.
I did do that. I'm guilty with that. But both of us as Giants and Saints fans in the last few years have experienced ton of heartbreak with these teams. Obviously, Saints, the pass interference, in that game as well. But the Giants is the Graham, their new kicker, 63-yard field goal against them. It's Jake Elliott. It's just over and over. It seems like for the Giants more than the Saints that they're constantly one step late, and that was my issue with guys like Olivier Vernon too when he was on the team. He's one step late. He's always one step late. It's never a clean sack. It's never right away. But I mean, obviously as a Saints fan, past few years have been extremely difficult. But I'm gonna let you take the lead on that.
Let me segue into this. So the New Orleans Saints, 4 years ago, they had just finished a third straight 7-9 season. Disappointing, honestly, under Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Mediocre, not competing. Defense was one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
But in 2018, we had a huge draft. Picked up Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara, and then starting that year, we started to contend. We were 13-3 last year. Ended up with the 3 seed. Should have been at a bye, but the Packers had a much easier schedule.
Yeah.
And were able to get in. The year before that, we were the best team in football in the regular season. We were 14-2 at the 1 seed in the NFC. And the year before that, we were the 4 seed. Won the division, won that big playoff game in the Dome against Cam Newton, and then ended up losing in the Minneapolis Miracle, the Stephon Diggs 63-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this. They're really fun to watch in the regular season. I think that they almost mirror the Milwaukee Bucks in a way where in the regular season it's like, let's just throw everything we have, all schemes, everything, and just win every possible game that we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do, and we win games, and we get into the playoffs. But when it counts, we have the inability to step up and perform. And it is perfect scenario last year. We played the Minnesota Vikings in the Dome. They were the 6 seed, we were the 3 seed. They had Kirk Cousins, and they were injured. Dalvin Cook was a little banged up.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen was banged up, and everyone was writing it off. I mean, we were 14.5 point spread. Game wasn't even supposed to be close.
Yeah.
That line is made based off of regular season performances.
Stats. Yeah.
Mike Zimmer is an incredible coach for the Vikings. He's been there for quite a while, and they out-coached us. They outplayed us, and honestly, they out-hearted us. It was demoralizing to watch as a fan. A team go 13-3 and steamroll through every opponent, and then get to the playoffs and lose to a team that was honestly the better team didn't win that day. We got out-game planned, outmaneuvered. They shut down Alvin Kamara in the passing game. He was forced to go up the middle, and he cannot run up the middle. He can't run through the tackles. Mike Thomas had a great game. Taysom Hill had a great game. And the only 2 reasons that those 2 guys had great games is because you cannot game plan for those guys. They're elite. They make their own plays, and you can't game plan for them.
Yeah.
Everything is shut down. Drew Brees has the inability to make big throws in big times. I love him. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a top 5 quarterback of all time passing leaders. He has the highest completion percentage in NFL history, highest completion percentage in a season. He's first in touchdowns thrown. He is the ultimate Iron Man, and he's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
But he had, and it's really unfortunate to say, he can't perform in big games. He doesn't step up when he needs to, and it's unfortunate. It really is. I think his mobility hurts him in the playoffs because when things break down and when defenses really dig in and break through your offensive line, he has the inability to read a defense, escape the pocket, and get out. He's so used to regular season, soft defenses, everyone's playing back, not really trying, and all of a sudden in the playoffs, here comes a 7-man blitz from the Vikings, and we can't stop it, and Brees gets sacked. And he just can't read situations in the playoffs, and he struggles to make big throws.
Yeah.
And, the defense is great. We have, on paper, we have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and there's no debating it. We just can't perform when it matters.
Yeah, I've said this time and time again. I think Drew Brees is just he's the definition of a choke artist. He's fabulous. He's probably a top three quarterback of all time if you really want. Top four, definitely top four. I think he's the fourth best quarterback of all time. But he just can't. I mean, once he gets into the playoffs, even in the game where they lost on the what should have been the pass interference call in every that game, he threw the pick and he was not good. He was just not good in that game. Maybe for first three quarters he was fine, but then even looking at this year, I think they're far and away the best team in the NFC South. Some people argue the Bucks, but I don't think they are. I mean, I think their offense is high powered, but their defense, I guess, it's way to be seen. No Jared McCoy, no more of that interior, defensive line that usually helps them against the run game. But I think they should win the division this year. Honestly, they should contend for a Super Bowl.
As they have for on paper have the last couple of years. You look at their roster, you look at Michael Thomas, and I'm gonna use arguable here, just because if you use the word arguable, it means you can argue such a fact. So arguably the best receiver in football, no doubt.
Michael Thomas is the best receiver in football.
There you go. Alvin Kamara, arguable top three, top five running back in the league. We have an unbelievable offensive line. We just picked up Emmanuel Sanders, split across from Mike Thomas, take some pressure off of him. We have Drew Brees. And then you look at the defense. Demario Davis, all-pro linebacker. You have Marshawn Lattimore, who's one of the top five corners in the game. P.J. Williams, Marcus Williams, young gunning secondary, and then Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport on the line. They have a really, really powerful defense and a powerful offense. And no matter who we play, they're going to be a tough out.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need the bye in the playoffs to contend because I don't think Breeze can go 4 games in a row. He cannot win 4 in a row, especially under that kind of pressure. And I think Sean Payton needs to do a better job come playoff time, game planning, because quite frankly, he got outcoached the last season, and that was disappointing because you look at a team like the Vikings, they shouldn't have beaten us, but we were outcoached, and the game was awful to watch. I mean, it was 20-14. We had one of the best offenses in the league. We scored 14 points on an injury-riddled defense. It was horrible.
Yeah. The last 2 New York Football Giants club football games I've been to have been Saints Giants. So 2 years ago or last year, I went to Saints Giants, or was that 2 years ago? 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It was It was one of the worst Giant games I've ever been to. They got destroyed, and it shows games where they play weaker teams, like last year when they played the Panthers. It shows how good they are. Their defense is so good. Like they shut down receivers. They shut them down, and they shut down last year DJ Moore. They shut people down, and it's really disappointing in the playoffs. Where how is it possible that Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen have over 100 receiving yards? It's like us. I know Marcus Williams gets a lot of hate for the Minneapolis Miracle, but I think he's so young and he's going to be such a good safety.
It is what it is. So I want to swing back to the Giants here for a second. So you have big expectations. So let's go back to the last couple of years because this show is called The Rant, and we have to express our thoughts and our emotions on disappointing season. So let's just go back to last year. So you look at Daniel Jones, first year guy. In my opinion, I know Giants fans love him. Danny football, you say what you want, whatever. I don't think he was the right choice in that draft. I think that was a weak quarterback draft. And I think that if they were going to tank that year like they did, you don't waste a high draft pick like that on a quarterback where you're so uncertain. I think they could have gotten, who was the linebacker they passed up on? Remind me again.
Josh Allen.
You look at a guy like that or another defender that can instantly improve your team and give yourself a chance to build on in the future. I don't think that was the draft to take the quarterback in because you didn't have the talent to build around Daniel Jones to contend. I don't think Eli Manning was in the position to mentor Daniel Jones. I just don't think that was the right pick. Now, he's a great player. I think he's going to have a good year this year. He just, in my opinion, and I'm going to pass this off to you, I don't think he has the talent at receiver. Running back is there. We know that. Everyone knows that. I think his receivers are abysmal, and it is really hard to have success when your top guy is Sterling Shepard, and he only played 3 games last year because he had, I don't know, 3 concussions, and he was considering retirement.
All right, so my turn.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you can say Daniel Jones wasn't the right pick last year, but then but the draft to take the quarterback then would have been when they drafted Saquon Barkley second overall. It doesn't, like, I think Daniel Jones proved that he was the right pick, but that could be a whole different debate. That could be a whole other episode. But I kind of disagree with you saying their receivers were abysmal last year. Slayton proved he was one of the best rookie receivers. He had a fabulous year.
Yeah.
Shepard got unlucky, constant concussions, and then Tate was suspended for the first 4 games of the year. But then when he came back, he was a ginormous help. And Evan Ingram, you have to wrap him in bubble wrap, or else the second he hits the ground, he's hurt. But I think he definitely has a lot of talent this year with Shepard being fully healthy, Ingram being finally fully healthy, Tate and Slayton. Those are 4 guys that are constantly moving, and if one guy gets taken out of the game, then you have the other. And I don't think – and I would have Slayton honestly be the number 1 receiver.
I think like I get it. I get that you look at like guys like that and you're like, oh, they're good. You know, they had a good season, whatever. But I think they're missing that elite threat to the point where defenses are literally shifting their game plans back and forth. Where you play a team like Tampa Bay, you play a team like New Orleans, you play a team like Atlanta, who has that one elite guy or 2 elite guys in case of Tampa Bay, where you're literally shifting your defense to a certain player. Whereas the Giants, am I worried about Sterling Shepard killing my guy in a one-on-one? Probably not. Am I worried about Darius Slayton killing my guy in a one-on-one? Probably not. So I don't know. It's there. The talent is there. I think they're a piece away, in my opinion, on offense.
And the issue is with that is then people get on Saquon, but when they put 8, 9, 10 in the box, there's nothing he can do because they're not worried about 2 receivers. But that's that. And honestly, to be a Giants fan, it's extremely infuriating. But like I am grateful enough, I am lucky enough to have been alive and to have been witness 2 Super Bowls. So I've been incredibly lucky with that. But most of this past decade has just been absolutely brutality. Aside from 2016, but it all comes down to upper management. I think Mara stinks. I think I just think a lot of these people are wimps. I think they're scared. I think that it made no sense firing Pat Shermer and not firing David Gettleman. Actually, I have jumped back on the David Gettleman hype train this past year or these past few months, but there's not much more I can say about the Giants other than I think they're a few years away. A few pieces away.
I have one more closing thought on the Giants. So you look at, I don't know when their last winning season was. They played the Packers 2016,
16.
a few years back, and that was a good year with Odell, obviously, but losing in the first round pretty brutally. So my thought is, when you have a big market team like New York, right? And you look at the ability of the players to now control their own destinies nowadays. Because back then, back in the old days, you can't request this, right? Because first of all, it didn't exist. That wasn't a concept that existed. The players did not control the league. The GMs controlled the league. The players were the pawns, and you moved the pieces around and built. The players did not control that. Nowadays, players have almost this new freedom thanks to the NBA. And now showing up in the NFL where they can, in fact, control their own destinies. And so you look at a team like the Giants, and they're in a big market, New York, and guys just don't want to play there. You see that with Odell. Guys where you need, as I said before, you need that one big elite player, right? And for the Giants not to build a team in the market that they have, I think that shows poorly upon upper management, and it shows poorly upon the team's culture in the locker room, on the field, and I think they have a losing culture. And if I'm a player, I don't want to go anywhere near that because I want to win. I have more fun winning. I have more fun competing. And the Giants just get, you get blown out game after game. And that's not fun for anyone. And then players start, you know, doing their own thing and getting in trouble and
Yeah,
pressing trades. And I just think that it's really disappointing for a big market team to have such a poor go at it this decade, honestly. Um, but, you know, it's up to you. What's your opinion?
you have to realize that this is now a culture change. Joe Judge is it's like it's two different worlds. What Joe Judge and
Let
Pat
me stop
Shermer
you right.
are.
I'm gonna stop you right there, and I'll just say one quick thing. This is kind of a theme here with New York teams, right? With the Mets, the Giants, and we'll go into the next another episode. This is what we do, or as you do, as New York fans, is we say, this is it. This is the culture change. This is what we needed. Blah blah. This is what we do. We got Pat Shermer the other year. He came off of a great reputation with the Vikings. He comes in and he shits the bed, quite honestly. And as a Giants fan, you're like, oh, okay, we'll get a new coach and a new player, and then this is going to be the year. And where does it end? Continue.
But that's why they bring in the guys like Golden Tate, Andrew Thomas is like another guy, Xavier McKinney, Coach Judge, Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns last year, and he was god awful. But now he's not even a coordinator; he's the tight ends coach. And it's like these different guys like Garrett, who has head coaching experience, and and everyone else on that staff. But I think it is a culture change. I think they're flipping the organization upside down. And I think if you don't see drastic improvement this year, then David Gettleman is going to be out as GM. But my last thing I want to say about the Giants, and we'll finish up with last thoughts about the Saints, is it's incredibly hard to build a team around a running back. And that's what they did when they drafted him second. They said, this is our piece, this is our guy, like not choosing Sam Darnold or Josh Allen or whoever in that draft it was. It's so hard. You need to have such an elite offensive line for him to really be a difference maker. Like running backs don't win games.
I
Don't.
agree with that.
Offensive lines, defensive lines, and quarterbacks win games. But that's what I'm going to say. I think you still need next year. You need to improve the offensive line, maybe take a receiver. But I don't know. This year will be more fun, I think, as Giant fans to watch. But let's finish up with the Saints. Sort of your final predictions or what you want to say.
Yeah, wait. So, first of all, Andrew Thomas is a great pick. I love that pick. That is such an awesome draft pick. Awesome. Like, can't even describe it how good a pick that was. Okay. And secondly, what a disgusting job Freddie Kitchens did with that Browns team. That's absolutely horrendous.
It was horrific. It was honestly an atrocity.
What a horrible job. With the roster and talent that he had, he did a abysmal garbage job with that team. That team was a dumpster fire last year. He had a good quarterback, a elite running back, two elite receivers, and an elite defense, a star defensive end, and he shit himself as the coach last year. He is a disgrace. I don't think he deserves a position on any team, and I'll get that out of the way. What a horrible job he did last year. Okay, let's go. So, final thoughts on the Saints. So, listen, and I'm the same thing. I'm the same way with how you're in New York, except that we actually compete, but it comes to playoffs. Do I think it's the year? Yeah, I think it's the year. I thought it was the year last year, and I thought it was the year before that. I think this is Breeze's last year, for sure. I think that we're gonna make a run at it. Do I think we're gonna win the Super Bowl? Unfortunately, no, because I just think that when it comes down to it, no matter how many times you live and you learn, whatever, no matter how many times we go through that heartbreak in the playoffs, I just don't think that Drew Brees has the ability to step up and make big throws and make big plays and adjust his team accordingly when he needs to. Do I want it to happen? Of course I want it to happen. Um, I want to see him make a run. I want to see Sean Payton come into his own as the good head coach that he is. Um, I just think we're going to fall short again, and we're going to be on here next year
Mm-hmm.
talking about another ridiculous miracle that happened in the NFC Championship. Because I just don't think we have enough juice to get there. Unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. Listen, we root for completely different teams, like on two different completely ends of the league. One's rebuilding, one is contending for a Super Bowl. And next week or next episode, maybe not a week, when we talk about basketball, it's kind of gonna be the same thing. Except I feel like I think I'll sort of dominate that episode, ranting, going off. I know last night I ranted to you and your father about it a little bit, but I am a New York Knicks fan. It's disgusting. We'll talk about it in a few days, but I mean, once again, this is the rant.
Yeah, we thank you all for joining. And give us feedback if you want certain questions. Ask us. We'll be happy to answer and discuss.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Wear a mask.